Welcome to Elselah Books Podcast. Today we're going to dig into a framework for relationships that's, believe it or not, over 50 years old. But its simple, powerful structure, well, it might be more relevant now than ever. We're going to look at this one single really powerful idea that comes from a book called I Married You.
I mean, it's the big question, right? What are the essential ingredients of a successful, lasting marriage? Whether you're married, you're hoping to be someday, or you're just kind of curious about what makes relationships work, we've all wondered, what are the core components? Like, what's really non-negotiable?
Well, way back in 1971, a counselor named Walter Trobisch offered a pretty powerful answer in his book, I Married You. And his entire model, his whole blueprint for what makes a marriage work, it was built around a shape we all learned about in, elementary school. A triangle. Yep, a triangle. All right, so the three pillars. How in the world does a triangle explain one of the most complex human relationships out there? Well, Trobisch argued that a strong marriage is built on three essential, totally inseparable pillars, and they form the three sides of this triangle. So let's build this thing.
Okay, so the foundation for this whole idea comes from Genesis 2:24. Trobisch bases his entire model on this one sentence. And this verse is actually repeated 4 times in the Bible, so it's a big deal. He didn't see it as just some nice poetic sentiment. Nope. For him, it was a technical blueprint packed with 3 distinct, absolutely crucial actions that form the very foundation of a marriage.
And here they are, the 3 sides of the triangle: leaving, cleaving, and becoming one flesh. Each one of these represents a totally unique dimension of the relationship. You've got the public and legal part, the personal and faithful part, and the physical and total part. And Trobisch was really clear about this. Just like a triangle, if you try to take away any one of these sides, the whole structure, it just collapses.
So let's break down that first pillar, leaving. Now, hold on, this isn't about abandoning your family or anything like that. For Trobisch, it's about a clear public and legal act. It's the moment you create a brand new, independent family unit, totally separate from your parents. He even bluntly calls it the price of happiness. Think of it like a necessary separation, like cutting an umbilical cord so that the new marriage has the space to actually grow on its own.
Okay, next up, pillar 2, cleaving. This one's fascinating. The original Hebrew word here literally means to be glued to, which is just a perfect picture of personal commitment. Trobisch has this great analogy for it. Imagine you glue 2 pieces of paper together. Now try to pull them apart. What happens? You don't get 2 clean sheets of paper back, right? You tear them both. That is cleaving. It's a bond of faithfulness so strong that it makes your marriage the #1 primary human relationship in your life. And that brings us to the third pillar, becoming one flesh. Now, it's really easy to hear that phrase and think it's just about the physical side of things, but Trobisch defines it way, way more broadly. He's talking about the total sharing of 2 lives. Not just bodies, but everything. Your hopes, your fears, your finances, your successes, your failures. It's not about 2 halves making a whole. It's about 2 whole individuals coming together to create something entirely new. Now, this next point is really crucial and a bit radical. After Trobisch lays out these 3 pillars, he highlights what isn't in that foundational verse. He says, look, the sentence ends, full stop. There is not one single word about children, and in his view, this is huge. While children are, of course, a profound blessing to a marriage, they're an additional blessing. They don't make the marriage. The triangle of leaving, cleaving, and becoming one flesh, that's what makes the marriage. Okay, so triangle versus garden. To really drive his point home, Trobisch contrasts his triangle model with a totally different idea of marriage he saw in a lot of cultures. He called it the garden concept, and you'll see why in a second. And wow, the difference is just stark. The triangle model is all about a partnership of equals. The garden concept, on the other hand, it's about possession. In this view, the man is the sower and the woman is the garden or the soil. I mean, just that one metaphor changes everything. The focus shifts from partnership and love over to fertility and lineage. And a childless marriage? In the triangle model, it's complete. In the garden model, it's seen as basically useless. All right, so that's the theory, a framework for failure. But this is where Trobisch makes it super practical. He actually uses this triangle as a diagnostic tool to identify what he calls marital sicknesses. So he identifies 3 common ways a marriage can fail. And each one lines up perfectly with the missing side of the triangle. First, you've got the empty marriage. That's where the cleaving angle is gone.
It's a loveless union. Legally and physically, it's all there, but emotionally, it's dead. Then there's the stolen marriage. Here, the leaving part is missing. You've got a relationship with love and sex, but no public, legal commitment. And finally, the unfulfilled marriage. That's when the one-flesh angle is sick. It's a loving, legal marriage, but it's suffering from a really unsatisfactory physical relationship. It's a pretty simple but, man, a powerful way to diagnose where the structure is failing. So, a question for today. We have to remember, this was all written back in 1971. I mean, that was a world with no dating apps, completely different social norms, just none of the relationship complexities we're all trying to navigate today. So, the big question is, what does this triangle model even mean for us now in the 21st century? You know, the key takeaway here is that this whole thing isn't some rigid, static checklist you just tick off. Trobisch saw marriage as a living, breathing thing, a constant, dynamic interplay of forces between commitment, love, and physical union. It's not a state you achieve and then you're done. It's something you are constantly, actively balancing and nurturing. Which really leaves us with a final question to chew on. In a world of dating apps and constantly shifting norms, where the very definitions of relationships can feel more fluid than ever, can a simple 50-year-old triangle still offer a useful map for modern relationships? Does this ancient blueprint still point the way? That's definitely something to think about. This book is available in all Christian stores. Read it and be blessed. Thank you for listening, and do subscribe to our channel for more.